Hey, what's up, guys? So I am back with my version 2 realistic Madden 24 franchise sliders. I did revise them and I did make them more difficult, but also trying to keep that realism into account when playing the game, playing, every or each 4 quarters and everything like that. And I will say I am 10-1 currently, but I do want to mention that the team is struggling in terms of the points that we're allowing, scored on us and trying to get points in the end zone. The majority of these scores were close until once it became like the third or fourth quarter. So as you can see here, um, I lost to the Browns. This is where I'm pretty sure I threw a lot of picks here. But you can see that the first quarter it was just 7-0. Second quarter, it was close in terms of the quarter, and then third quarter we scored, caught up, I'm pretty sure. But then the fourth quarter is when it dragged out. Now I will say the majority of these games, or the majority of these games are just like this, where the game is close the majority of the whole match, but then either I start to slip away in the well, I wouldn't say either because I'm 10-1. This is the only game I lost. Regardless, though, my team starts slipping away with the score in the fourth or third quarter, and then that's when you see the inflated score or the inflated final score. Um, I do want to mention like games like I think the Lions game was pretty close as you can see, and then in the fourth quarter, as you can see, I scored 21 points. That's when I, started to run away with the game in my hands. This Bear games was pretty close. I will say this Washington game literally came down to a final kick by me. You can see right there that in OT I scored 3 points. It was a field goal, and then I do want to show off the picks because I picked them off twice in the in overtime, and that's how that game played out. Now games like this, like the Eagles game, I did score a. They actually almost made a comeback. Um, so it was quiet the third quarter, second quarter was quiet as well, and then the fourth quarter is when I started running away with the game. And then I do want to show like other matches. So obviously here I scored 55, 51, 59, right? But I do want to mention just like in real life, some teams uh, rather than others, they start to, play well. They start firing on all cylinders and they start, playing the games well, the schemes, everything like that, play calls, the way they execute the plays is everything's perfect, right? For like 4 weeks, and then they start going on a win streak. So they do play realistic, I will say that, and I did make them a little bit difficult because as you can see, my team is still kind of I'm not gonna say a super team, but it is a well built team in terms of O line, defense, corners, no matter what, you're gonna get 10-1, records. You're gonna get 15-1 records. 15-0, 16-0, 17-0 records. You're gonna get those types of records. It's just how the game plays. We can't do anything about it. Now, I do also want to mention that I have found a perfect fatigue slider with the auto subs, and I will show that after the sliders. So here they are. I'm sorry, for dragging it out a little bit, but here are the sliders. I did make it a little more difficult. I do like how the blocking plays. The blocking actually plays well enough to where if you have a 70 overall offensive lineman, he's gonna play like a 70 overall offensive lineman, and then so on. 80 is gonna play like an 80. And then the wide receiver catch, and I did put this at 40, so that it kind of it makes it difficult, and it adds that element of you got to put the ball in the right spot, et cetera, et cetera. And then also, it separates your scrub receivers from your good receivers. You're not gonna have a 69 overall receiver playing like an 88 overall receiver. And then ball security still at 50 because I don't want to make this an inconsistent slider to where you're fumbling every other drive. you know And then defense, I put it at 37. It plays perfectly fine. and then interceptions at 43. You're gonna have those dropped interceptions every now and then you're gonna have those DBs or safeties or linebackers that can't catch because that's not what they specialize in. You know, I do have a player on the team who has 59 catching. I think I've moved him to safety for that specific reason because if he's not going to be able to intercept the ball, I don't really want him at corner because he's just going to choke the game when I need a big play. I rather have a different corner in that slot than having that guy who can't catch. He can deflect the pass or this and that, but in that moment I need a pick rather than a deflection. So I hope that makes sense. Tackling is at 50. It actually plays really well. It adds that coin flip of whether you make a good tackle or not, because I feel like if you're trying to hit stick every single time, then you should be punished for it if you do end up missing. Now QB accuracy, I upped it to 60. I will say that my rule of thumb is to not go above 60. So that's obviously what I did here. So QB accuracy is at 60. Their pass blocking is at 44. The reason it is at 44 and not higher is because I have a superstar. I have one superstar defensive end and then my other defensive end is a superstar X factor, and I barely get any pressure when it comes to just playing a normal team or even a good team. I barely get any type of pressure. So pass blocking is at 44. It plays perfectly fine. If I do end up going against a team that has a good O line, it is noticeable, and the pressure isn't as obvious rather than playing a team who's like 1-5, for example. Now, run blocking, I did up this because I feel like it's too easy to stop the run, and it still is a little easy. Only with the linebackers, however, gets blocked. Unfortunately, you are going to give up a big run. So it adds that element of you got to call the right play and the right scheme for, stopping the run. Ball security, same thing. Now, the defensive, coverage and reaction time, I have them both at 58. It adds that, element of it's better coverage. You, as the player, have to put the ball in the right spot. Your receivers have to be at the right, spot at the right time. Now, interceptions 43 as well. I do want to add that element as well for the CPU where a guy who can't catch, you know, is not going to catch or intercept the ball, right? So it adds that element there, just like I said for the player. Now, special teams I don't touch. Now, injuries, I have it at 25. It plays perfectly fine. And then fatigue, I finally found the right value, which is 98. I know that may seem crazy, but for some reason this year, fatigue doesn't even play correctly. So I have it at 98. And then I'll show my auto subs that I have. I did say that auto subs are personal preference, but since fatigue doesn't work the way that it does or it's supposed to this year, I say put these values in depending on how much depth you have at the position. So if you have, I have two superstar running backs, so I want both of them to play. Obviously, you don't want the sub in value to be too high because in the fourth quarter, everyone's tired or they get tired quicker and they're not going to come back into the game, unfortunately. So you got to have this low enough, but high enough to where, they're still subbing out, or, they're still subbing back in, but then this number is low enough to where they're subbing out at a reasonable value. It gives those other players that chance to get some reps in and some XP so that they can continue to develop. And then on defense, same thing. I have it for all of them. I'm a defensive first type of guy, so I want my entire defense. I don't care if it's a 60 overall or a 99 overall. I want them all to play to some extent, especially the DBs because that's where you have most um, players, or even the linebackers. I will say middle linebackers, right outside linebackers, and left outside linebackers. I run a 4-3. All my linebackers are coverage, me personally, so I want every single one of them to play as well as my defensive tackles because it's only two that play at a time, and then obviously the defensive ends. It's for me. I usually try to carry six in total, so three on each side. And so, I want them all to play. But other than that, guys, that's really it. That's my update for you. And if they still don't play to your guys' liking, what I recommend is the 3 and 7 rule. So if you're trying to go high up to another whole number, if you're trying to go up from 50 to 60, try 57 first and then see where you like that. If you want to keep going up, then go up by one or go up by two. But like I said, use the 3 and 7 rule. If you're trying to go to from 60 to 50, go to 53 first. But yeah, guys, that's it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.